Welcome to the Genius Talk podcast. I'm your host Atul Raj from the besteventmarketer.com, and today we have Michael Whitehouse with us. Thank you for thank you so much for joining us, Michael.
Yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. For our listeners who don't know you, can you tell them who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I'm Michael Whitehouse. I am the guy who knows a guy. I am an extrovert for hire. So I started out with just networking. I moved to an area, didn't know anyone, didn't know anything, didn't have anything, and just started making connections. And one connection led to another, led to another. I made introductions to people, they made introductions back. And through that, I started meeting people, learning things. 2020, that went from my little local area to the global online world. And after a decade of doing this, I now know more than networking because I've met thousands of entrepreneurs, learned from them, seen what works, what doesn't work, tried things that work, tried things that don't work. And now most of my services fall under extrovert for hire. So my clients hire me to speak for them. They hire me to go to networking events for them. And then, of course, they also hire me to teach them what I have learned being a globe-trotting through the computer extrovert and tapping into that knowledge and those resources in order to grow their business.
Okay, now I'm curious. You have thousands of people on your network. Okay, so how do you keep track? And when they recommend you someone, okay, when they send you business, how can you keep up with the demand?
Well, how do I keep track? I don't, basically. So what I have done is built communities, built spaces in which my network finds themselves in each other and where I can find them. So I use an email list, a school community, things like that. I have never been able to find a tool that effectively tracks my network, who they are, what they do, what they need, what they can offer in a way that I could search it and keep track of it. So I actually don't. For the connections I make, it is a matter of I am constantly meeting people, constantly reconnecting with people in my community. And as I make connections, I'll meet someone and I say, oh, you know who you need to meet? And the networking spirits will inspire me and I'll make that connection.
That's great.
Yep. Yeah. And how do I deal with the demand? Well, I wish I had so much demand I couldn't deal with it. How do I deal with it? Is people offer me money and I do things for them.
Okay.
Sadly, not yet hit the point where of demand demand over capacity. That day may come, and it may not. Honestly, it's not something I'm looking for. I would rather have fewer clients that I work closer with. Well, no, I do have communities, like school communities. They're $20 and $30 a month, and I'd love to have 1,000 people in each of those. But I'm not working with them one on one. I'm working them in a community, and then they serve each other in the community.
Okay, what inspired you to become the guy who knows a guy and focus on building communities and profitable relationship?
So I've always been building communities since my first business out of college. I opened a game store, which is not great for profit, but is great for community building. And so that was, my first endeavor as a young buck of 22. So that's just naturally what I do in whatever space I go into. Guy who knows a guy was a matter of I started actively networking for lack of anything else. Yeah, so people joke. Some people ask me, why are you so good at networking? I say, I'm not good at anything else. I'm not a designer. I'm not a copywriter. I'm not a bodybuilder. I can't crochet. I can't lay tile, but I can introduce people to other people. And so since that's the thing I'm good at, that's the thing I do a lot. And so I do more of it. And the guy who knows a guy came from after a few years, I realized I was doing something that anyone could do and no one else was doing. So I thought, what if I write this down in a book? Because maybe they don't know they can do it. So I wrote it in a book, called the book The Guy Who Knows a Guy. And that's where the brand came from. I was originally the author of The Guy Who Knows a Guy. And then all those extra words dropped out and people just started calling me The Guy Who Knows a Guy.
Yeah, that's a great name to be known by. Okay, you met over 3,000 entrepreneurs across the world. So, what pattern or qualities do you see in the most successful ones?
The most successful ones are clear in their purpose and activity. So the ones who are most successful, they are doing one specific thing and doing it well and really focusing in on that. And so, a lot of people perform random acts of business. I created something called the 9 foundational questions of business. And the purpose of those 9 questions is that by answering them, you get clear on what it is you're doing. And if you get to a question you're like, well, I'm this and this and this and this and this. And I say, great, you can answer, but you need to branch. If you have 9 answers to question 4, well, you bet you now need 9 answers to question 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 as well. And they say, well, that's a lot. I say, yeah. Now imagine executing on it. You may wish to narrow that down and focus in. So the main mistake I see people making is approaching business backwards. And I have certainly been one of those people. Starting from, I want to have a business. I have these things. What do I do with them? As opposed to, I want to be a carpenter, or I want to teach organization skills, or whatever. You start from what you're doing. It's a lot easier. It's a bit more limited, but it's a lot easier because you're just doing that one thing. The challenge a lot of people have is that they're getting into business not because they have something profitable to pursue, but because the job market, the corporate world is becoming less and less pleasant, less and less habitable.
Mhm.
And so they say, okay, I got to get out of there. I've got all these skills, knowledge, experience, connections, resources. Clearly, I can make something happen. Let me go do that. And then they have an embarrassment of riches. They actually have too many things that they could do, too many opportunities. And when you chase 2 deer, you catch none.
Okay, so what are common mistakes people make in networking and how can they avoid them?
2 main mistakes are the extremes: being too focused on what you want and not knowing what you want. So the first one will make everyone hate you. The second one will just make you broke. So if you're too focused on what you want, you go in, let's say you're an insurance guy, and you're like, hey, Atul, what kind of insurance do you have? Do you have enough life insurance to protect your family? Do you learned about universal insurance? And you're like, whoa, back off. I'm not interested in this conversation. And so we've all met those kinds of people who are just they're trying to reach into your pocket from the moment they talk to you. And as soon as they pivot immediately from, oh, who do you know? Who can you refer me to? No one. Absolutely no. Wait, who don't I like? Maybe I'll refer you to that guy. On the other hand, that kind of person it's easy to hate them and easy to get rid of them, right? They're in your face and you're like, get out of my face, stop talking to me, go away. But the other one that's almost more problematic is not knowing what they want. So when I say, who are you looking to meet? Well, I don't really know. Who's your ideal customer? Well, it could be anyone. Who's your best referral partner? I got a bunch of referral partners. Well, I can't introduce someone to anyone, someone, anyone breathing. I need specifics. So, who are these specific kind of people they need to meet? Then I can help them and then they can get what they're looking for. So I think most people know the don't be the pushy sales guy. But but then they go all the way the other direction, and either they don't know what they want or they don't want to just jump right into business. I want to get to know you first. I want to learn about who you are, and you want to learn about me? Let me help you in 3 ways in the first 20 minutes after we meet. Now you're going to know about me. The fact that I have a daughter or live in Connecticut or like playing board games does not tell you as much as the fact that I make 2 or 3 introductions for you in the first 30 minutes we're talking. So if you
Mhm.
want to talk about board games and my daughter and what my favorite car is and road trips, we can do that. But if you'd like to run a business and make some money, let's talk about what you need, and then I can make some introductions.
Yeah. Okay, so you talk about the fortune is in the follow up. So can you explain what it means and how do you do it?
So I like the idea of follow forward rather than follow up, which is not doing things later, but doing them now. So if I'm on a call with someone and I say, hey, you should meet Bob, I'm not going to put it on a list to deal with on Friday. Ideally, I'm going to send a message that says, hi, I'm talking to Susie right now. And what came up is ABC. And so I think you should meet. This has a number of advantages. One is I don't need to remember to do it later. But also, I don't need to put anything in that email that tells Susie who this person is because I'm talking to Susie right now.
No, yeah.
So the email's half as long. And presumably she'll respond right away because she's on the call with me and knows it's coming. So, if I'm talking to someone live and I want to make an introduction, I'm pulling my phone out, snapping a selfie of the two of us and
Mhm.
saying, I'm standing here with, and you should meet him. Here's why. And send a group text, group email, group whatever with that photo that shows like this is happening right now. I'm thinking of you right now. But yeah, and then the next step is what Alex Ramosi calls BAM FAM, book a meeting from a meeting. But it's basically take action while you're there. I was gonna say you should never have a meeting end with, all right, I'll talk to you, we'll catch up. But often you do, because you get to the end of the meeting, you're like, I don't need a second meeting with this person. I've done what I can. I'm gonna connect them, they're gonna connect me, we'll keep each other in mind. We have no next step, no course of action. Now, if you're only meeting a few people, you might follow up with them in 2 or 3 months just to follow up and see what's new and build that relationship and whatnot. If you're meeting 20 people a week, then 19 of them you will not book a follow-up call to. This is where building a community is valuable, because then you can invite them into a community. They find value there. They stay connected with you there. But you don't have to be getting on second, third, fourth calls with people who they don't have referrals for you. You don't have referrals for them. They don't have resources for you. You don't have resources for them. So it's all a question of strategy. The introvert strategy is meet one person a week and talk to them 10 times a year. The extrovert strategy is meet 10 people a week and talk to them each once, and then bring them together into into community space, invite them to events, and both can work. It all comes down to having that clarity on what your goal is, what you're trying to do, and why you're doing it. So, because you could know a million people, if you don't know what you need, they don't know what you need either, and they're not going to help you because they can't. Hey, what do you need? I don't know. Well, I'll be sure to get you a gallon of that.
Okay, so I'm curious. So right now we're having conversation first time, right?
Have what?
We are having conversation first time right now. So so suppose you have a thought that me and Atul should do joint venture. Okay, so at what time you will talk about that with me?
About it? I mean, I'll talk about a joint venture the moment it seems like a good idea.
Okay.
So, but it has seemed like a good idea. I think the problem a lot of people run into, first off, most people don't know what a joint venture is. A joint venture is not, I'll promote your stuff, you promote my stuff. That's simply reciprocal affiliate promotion, which is a fine thing to do, is not a joint venture. A joint venture is a venture that is done jointly. To my definition, a joint venture is actually creating something jointly. So there is actually some degree of partnership existing. I like to do it more cleanly, like I'm running an event and you're part of it, or you're running an event and I'm part of it. So we're not setting up, LLCs and actual joint organizations, but it's still, creating something together, running a summit. I run a summit and you're the host. That's a joint venture. We're doing that together. Some people say that me promoting your launch, you promoting my launch is joint venture. I just say that's reciprocation, because the thing about a joint venture is something you can't just be like, yeah, I'm going to stop right now. It's no big deal. Right? If we're running a summit together and I walk away, then there's unwinding. Someone has to be like, hey, what happened to the summit? I bought a VIP. Where's my pack? What's going on here? Whereas if I'm going to promote your launch, you're going to promote my launch, and I walk away, well, you didn't get your promotion, but you have 73 other promoters. So whatever. It's not, it's a very clean, easily breakable thing. So, and that's a place where people get in a lot of trouble too, is they say, hey, let's do a joint venture, even as simple as running a summit together or a joint webinar or whatever, without really knowing the person. And so that's where you have a lot of people saying nobody follows up. They didn't do their part. Well, did you know them? Were you clear? Did you talk about what you expected? Did you talk about what you were going to do? So, a joint venture is doing a project together. It's not just like, all right, great. Yeah, so let's do this. Yeah, now you need 5 more meetings to work out all the details.
Yeah.
You need a document that outlines what you're doing. Now, and again, people get confused because a joint webinar, which is one of the simplest forms of joint ventures, you're putting on an event together, you need to both do it, is 10 times more complicated than simple, I promote your webinar, you promote my webinar.
Yeah.
Affiliate reciprocation. And so I'll be 10 minutes into a call when I'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll promote you on my resource letter. And if you want to promote me, you can. And if not, whatever. So it's all a question of how much engagement's required. But it is important for people to realize just how complicated something might be before jumping in.
Okay, so looking back when you started, what's one lesson you would tell yourself if you have to restart today and the main focus will be related to joint venture.
Related to joint venture. I guess, yeah. So if I was to go back to say 2020 when I joined the online industry, I think the biggest thing I would have told early self is that the experts aren't as expert as they lead you to believe. Just because someone's running $1 million launch, one, doesn't mean they're actually running $1 million launch, means they say they are. But two, doesn't mean they know anything. Doesn't mean they know how things work. It means they know how their company works or how their company worked. Doesn't mean they know why. I saw a lot of people in 2022, 2023 say their launches were off 70%. They dropped 70% and they didn't have the foggiest notion of why. And I said, really? You can't see what's happening that's causing this to happen in the market and in your own strategy? And they're like, no, I don't see anything. So a lot of these big deal folks, it's simply they had money to invest in the first place. They were able to hire a team. They were able to leverage ads, able to get in early before the market was crowded. So, you know, their advice, which would be go back to 2012 and start then, would work great if you could travel through time. But not everyone who is a big deal necessarily is someone that you should be listening to the advice of, because they may not know what they're talking about, and they definitely don't know what they're talking about for a newbie's company. You know, if they run $1 million, $10 million company, they have no advice for someone with a $50,000 company because they don't remember what a $50,000 company was like, and they certainly have never run one in the 2020s.
Yeah, exactly. Because every time, in every time frame, the business, the market responds in a different way. Okay, so for our listeners who want to know more about you, want to connect with you, then where can they go?
Well, the best thing to do would be to get my 9 questions ebook. I mentioned the 9 foundational questions of business. And so for anyone who is listening to this, what they should do is first pull their car over to the side of the road safely and put the car in park. Then take their phone out and go to guywhoknowsaguy.com/9Q book, as in 9 questions book. That's guywhoknowsaguy.com/9Q book.
Great, Michael. So, is there anything else that you would like to share?
Yeah, the biggest, the most exciting thing I'm seeing today is that business on the entrepreneur level is becoming, or solopreneur level is becoming more human. While giant corporations are trying to eliminate their workforces and replacing them with AI, and most of them are getting kicked in the pants while doing it, I'm finding more and more people in the solopreneur space who don't have boards of directors and shareholders breathing down their necks. They want to collaborate. They want to support each other. They want to help. And if you're new or newer, experienced people who have been there are happy to help. Now, as I said, not all of them have advice that's relevant. So, pick and choose what works and what doesn't. But people are willing to help. They're happy to help. This is not a dog eat dog world. This is a place where, a place of abundance. Most practitioners will never make more than $500,000 a year, and they don't want to. And there's trillions of dollars of business in the world, which means there's plenty of room for everyone.
Thank you, Michael, for spending some time with us, and it was really good chatting with you.
Great. Thank you for having me.